Mastering the art of controlling your mind, a pursuit that dates back to Stoic philosophy, a school of thought that flourished in ancient Greece and Rome. This ancient philosophy maintains that, by conquering our thoughts, emotions, and reactions, we can discover a deep wellspring of serenity and virtue, independent of external circumstances in life. In this text we will unravel the Stoic principles that assist us in achieving this inner mastery, allowing us to lead a more balanced and meaningful life. Through understanding and applying these principles, it is possible to attain a state of serenity that enables us to face life's ups and downs with grace and wisdom. Continue watching our video to discover how to master your mind and transform your life. So go ahead and leave a like to help this video reach more people, and don't forget to follow us here on the platform. Let's delve into the first Stoic principle, which is self-knowledge. Self-knowledge is the cornerstone of Stoic philosophy and many other philosophical and spiritual traditions. For the Stoics, understanding oneself is the essential starting point for mastering the mind and consequently life. Constant self-examination. The Stoics encourage us to engage in honest and ongoing self-evaluation. This involves looking at our own thoughts, emotions, and actions objectively and impartially. It's like looking into a mental mirror and recognizing our virtues, flaws, and tendencies. Identification of desires and aversions. A fundamental part of this self-examination is recognizing our desires and aversions. Often we are dominated by irrational desires or unfounded aversions that causes suffering. By identifying them, we can begin to question their validity and work to control them. Reflect on your values. The Stoics challenges to reflect on our values and principles. What truly matters to us? What are we seeking in life? This kind of reflection helps align our actions with our values, promoting a more meaningful life. Self-acceptance and constructive self-criticism. Self-knowledge also involves the ability to accept ourselves as we are, with all our flaws and imperfections. However, this doesn't mean complacency, but rather recognizing areas where we can improve and grow. Avoiding self-deception. The Stoics caution us against self-deception, which is the tendency to justify our actions and rationalize harmful behaviors. Through self-knowledge, we can detect when we are falling into this kind of mental trap. Continuous improvement. Self-knowledge is not an end in itself, but a means to achieve self-transformation and continuous improvement. By better understanding yourself, you can work on building a more Stoic mindset, cultivating virtues such as courage, temperance, wisdom, and justice. In summary, self-knowledge is the solid foundation upon which Stoic philosophy is built. It helps us discern what is within our control and what is not, recognize our desires and aversions, and shape our minds according to virtuous principles. It is the journey of self-discovery that empowers us to not be prisoners of our own emotions and thoughts, making us more resilient and wise in the face of life's challenges. Let's delve deeper into the second Stoic principle, which is about the acceptance of what we cannot control. This is one of the fundamental pillars for mastering the mind and living a more tranquil and wise life. Acceptance of what we cannot control. The Stoics emphasize the idea that many events and circumstances in life are beyond our direct control. This includes the actions of other people, natural events the past and even the future. The key to Stoic serenity is to fully embrace this reality and direct our efforts toward what we can control, primarily our own mind and actions. Understanding the sphere of control, Stoics encourage us to create a clear distinction between the sphere of control, what is within our domain, and the external sphere, what is outside of our control. This helps us avoid futile frustrations by recognizing that we cannot change certain things such as the behavior of others or past events. Detachment from unrealistic expectations. Often we suffer due to unrealistic expectations. Stoics advise us to let go of excessive expectations and accept reality as it is. This doesn't mean we should be indifferent, but rather that we should keep our expectations aligned with what is possible and reasonable. Serene confrontation of adversity. By accepting that adversity is part of life, Stoics develop resilience and courage to face challenges with serenity. Instead of rebelling against difficulties, we can view them as opportunities for growth and learning. Focus on reaction, not action. While we cannot control external events, we can control how we react to them. Stoics emphasize that our ability to choose our responses is one of life's greatest gifts. Therefore, we should concentrate our efforts on cultivating virtuous responses such as patience, compassion, and wisdom. Detachment from the past and the future. Constant worries about the past and the future can prevent us from fully living in the present. Stoics remind us that the past cannot be changed and the future is uncertain. Therefore, it is wise to focus our attention on the here and now, where we can make a difference. The acceptance of what we cannot control, combined with the constant pursuit of virtue and self-transformation, is one of the paths to inner peace and Stoic wisdom. It empowers us to deal with life's uncertainties and challenges in a more balanced and resilient manner, allowing us to live according to Stoic principles of a virtuous and meaningful life. Now, let's delve into the third Stoic principle, which involves the practice of indifference to pleasures and pains. This principle challenges our relationship with the external world and sensory experiences, encouraging us to find a state of equanimity in regard to these experiences. Practice of indifference to pleasures and pains. The Stoics argue that the unrestrained pursuit of pleasures and the fear of pains are significant sources of human suffering. To achieve serenity in virtue, it is essential to adopt an attitude of healthy indifference toward these experiences. Prudence in pleasure. Stoics do not advocate total renunciation of pleasures, but rather moderation and prudence. They remind us that the relentless pursuit of pleasure often leads to harmful excesses, while the pursuit of moderation helps us avoid the suffering that results from excess. Detachment from pain. Similarly, Stoics encourage us to develop the courage and resilience to face pains and adversities calmly and courageously. Instead of fearing them, we can view them as opportunities to grow and strengthen our mind's. Principle of indifference. Stoic philosophy embraces the principle of indifference towards many external things, meaning that these things such as wealth, social status, or material success are indifferent to our virtue and intrinsic happiness. This does not mean we should not see good things in life, but rather that we should not place our happiness exclusively in these things, as they are beyond our control. Emotional detachment. Stoics seek to develop a healthy emotional detachment from external circumstances. This means we should not let ourselves be dominated by our emotions in response to material gains or losses. Instead, we should cultivate inner tranquility that remains constant regardless of external changes. Focus on virtue. According to Stoics, the true source of contentment and happiness lies in the pursuit and practice of virtue. By prioritizing wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance in our lives, we find a more enduring and meaningful kind of pleasure than those offered by fleeting sensory pleasures. Self-mastery. Practicing indifference to pleasures and pains requires a high level of self-mastery. This means not being a slave to our desires and not being dominated by the fear of pain. By developing this self-discipline, we are able to make more rational and ethical decisions. In summary, the practice of indifference to pleasures and pains is an essential part of Stoic philosophy that teaches us to find a healthy balance with sensory and external experiences. This allows us to avoid excesses that often lead to suffering and to find a deeper source of contentment in the pursuit of virtue and self-transformation. It is a principle that helps us live a more balanced and serene life. Now let's explore in more detail the fourth Stoic principle, which deals with emotional control. Mastering emotions is fundamental to achieving serenity in virtue. According to Stoic teachings, control of emotions. Stoics acknowledge that emotions can be powerful and often lead us to act impulsively or irrationally. Therefore, they emphasize the importance of controlling emotions as follows. Emotional self-awareness. The first step is to cultivate emotional self-awareness, which involves the ability to identify and understand our emotions as they arise. This includes recognizing when we are experiencing emotions such as anger, fear, sadness, or euphoria. Emotional distance. After recognizing an emotion, the Stoics recommend creating a certain emotional distance. Instead of being completely carried away by an emotion, they suggest taking a step back and examining the situation more objectively. Reasoning about emotion. Stoics believe that reason should prevail over emotion. This means using the power of rational thought to assess the validity and usefulness of a specific emotion in a given situation. For example, if we are feeling anger, we should question whether the anger is justified and whether acting on it is appropriate. Choosing virtuous responses. Once we have assessed an emotion, we should choose a response that aligns with virtuous principles. For example, instead of reacting impulsively with anger, we can choose to respond with calm and understanding. This requires self-control and constant practice. Transforming negative emotions. Stoics also teach the transformation of negative emotions into constructive actions. For example, instead of allowing fear to paralyze us, we can use it as a motivation to take sensible precautions. Emotional equanimity. The ultimate goal is to achieve emotional equanimity, a state in which emotions do not dominate us. This does not mean eliminating emotions, but rather controlling them in a way that does not negatively influence our judgment and actions. Acceptance of natural emotions. It's worth noting that Stoics do not advocate complete suppression of emotions, but rather wise and virtuous management of them. They acknowledge that Natural emotions such as grief in the face of loss or joy and success are part of the human condition. Mastering emotions is a continuous and challenging process, but it is essential for living a more serene and ethical life. Stoics believe that by controlling our emotions and choosing virtuous responses, we can live in accordance with principles such as wisdom, justice, and courage regardless of external circumstances. This enables us to attain a state of serenity and inner peace, highly valued in Stoic philosophy. The fifth Stoic principle, which focuses on the present, is essential for mastering the mind and living a more meaningful life. This principle encourages concentration on the here and now, avoiding rumination about the past or anxiety about the future. Let's delve deeper into this concept. Focus on the present, elimination of regret. Stoics teach that regretting the past is futile, since we cannot change it. Instead of getting lost in regrets, we should learn from our mistakes and past experiences. This perspective frees us from the burden of the past and allows us to focus our efforts on the present. Reduction of anxiety about the future. Excessive worrying about the future is another source of suffering. Stoics believe that while it is wise to plan and prepare, we should acknowledge the inherent uncertainty of life and not allow anxiety about the future to dominate our thoughts and actions. Appreciation of the present moment. The present is the only moment we truly have. Stoics encourage us to fully appreciate the present, find joy in small things, and recognize the beauty of the world around us. This not only brings us contentment, but also helps us cultivate an attitude of gratitude. Focus on current tasks. Focusing on the present also translates to being fully engaged in the tasks we are performing. This means avoiding distractions and multitasking, allowing us to carry out our activities more effectively and with greater appreciation. Here and now as a source of control. Stoic philosophy emphasizes that the only moment we have real control over is the present. Therefore, by directing our attention to the present, we are able to channel our efforts into making wise and ethical decisions in the here and now, without excessive concern for what we cannot control in the future. Meditation and mindfulness. Practices like meditation and mindfulness are useful tools for developing a focus on the present. They help train our minds to be more present and aware, reducing mental agitation and promoting tranquility. Reduction of suffering. By living more in the present, we can experience less suffering caused by concerns about the past or the future. This not only improves our quality of life but also allows us to make more informed and ethical decisions. In summary, the Stoic philosophy's principle of focusing on the present teaches us to value the present moment, accept the impermanence of life, and find control and contentment in the now. This does not mean ignoring the past or neglecting planning for the future, but rather living fully and meaningfully in the present, the only real moment over which we have significant control. This contributes to a calmer mind and a more meaningful life. Now let's delve into the sixth Stoic principle, which is the practice of virtue as the supreme good. This principle is central to Stoic philosophy and serves as a fundamental guide for living a meaningful and ethical life. Practice of virtue as the supreme good. Stoic virtues. Stoics identified four cardinal virtues that serve as pillars for virtuous living. These virtues are wisdom, Sophia, courage, Andrea, justice, Stoicism and temperance sophism, each of them plays an important role in the pursuit of virtue. Sophia wisdom is the pursuit of knowledge and understanding of the nature of the world and human nature. This involves seeking truth, self-awareness, and the ability to discern what is truly valuable in life. Andrea, courage is the virtue that enables us to face fear and act justly even in the face of danger or adversity. Stoics believed that courage was intrinsically linked to wisdom as it requires discernment to face appropriate dangers. Stoicism and justice involves acting with fairness, impartiality, and respect for the rights of others. The Stoics believed that justice was an essential part of virtuous living and social harmony. Sophism temperance is the control of desires and appetites, avoiding excess and unrestrained pleasures. It also includes mastery over emotions and the ability to maintain serenity in all circumstances. Continuous practice. The pursuit of virtue is a continuous and challenging journey. The Stoics believe that no one is completely virtuous, but everyone can work to enhance these virtues throughout life. Virtue as the source of happiness. The Stoics taught that true happiness resides in the practice of virtue. By living according to these principles, we can find a deep sense of fulfillment and meaning regardless of external circumstances. Virtue as the source of self-sufficiency. The practice of virtue also leads to emotional and spiritual self-sufficiency. This means we do not depend on external things like wealth, status, or approval to find joy and satisfaction. Self-mastery and self-transformation. Pursuit of virtue requires self-mastery and self-transformation. It involves recognizing our flaws, learning from our mistakes, and constantly working to become better human beings. Seeking a meaningful life. The practice of virtue is seen as the path to a meaningful and ethical life. It empowers us to make just decisions, live in harmony with others, and contribute to the common good. In summary, the practice of virtue is the supreme good, is at the heart of Stoic philosophy. It guides us in the pursuit of wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance as a means to lead a virtuous and meaningful life. Stoic virtue is not just an abstract theory, but a set of principles that can be applied in daily life to live with ethics and serenity, regardless of external circumstances. I will now delve deeper into the seventh Stoic principle, which pertains to the pursuit of inner tranquility as a result of mastering the mind and emotions. This principle is fundamental to Stoic philosophy and describes the serene and stable state of mind that Stoics seek to achieve. The pursuit of inner tranquility, independence from external circumstances. Stoics believe that true happiness and tranquility should not depend on external circumstances. Instead, they aim to find inner peace irrespective of the fluctuations of the external world. This means that no matter what happens around us, we can maintain our composure and virtue. Acceptance of impermanence. The pursuit of tranquility requires acceptance of impermanence. Stoics understand that everything in life is transient and that clinging to ephemeral things or situations will inevitably lead to suffering. By embracing impermanence, they find a peace that is unshaken by changes, equanimity in the face of adversity. One of the most striking aspects of the pursuit of tranquility is the ability to face adversity with equanimity. Stoics view difficulties as opportunities for growth, developing resilience and strengthening the mind. Detachment from disturbing emotions. Inner tranquility is achieved through detachment from disturbing emotions such as anger, fear, and despair. Stoics teach us to recognize these emotions but not allow them to govern our actions or decisions. Living in accordance with virtue. For Stoics, the true source of tranquility is living in accordance with virtue. When we act with wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, our conscience is clear and we are not haunted by feelings of guilt, remorse, or regret. Contentment with sufficiency. Stoics promote the idea that the relentless pursuit of more wealth, power, or pleasure often leads to dissatisfaction. Instead, they emphasize the importance of finding contentment with sufficiency, avoiding excessive desires and material attachments. Serenity as an ideal to pursue. Inner tranquility is seen by Stoics as a new ideal to be pursued throughout life. It is not achieved all at once but is cultivated gradually through self-control, self-discipline, and the constant practice of Stoic principles. Inner freedom. The pursuit of tranquility is also a pursuit of inner freedom when we are not slaves to our own emotions, desires, and external circumstances. We achieve a freedom that allows us to live in accordance with our values and principles. In summary, the pursuit of inner tranquility is one of the central pillars of Stoic philosophy. It involves independence from external circumstances, acceptance of impermanence, detachment from disturbing emotions, and the constant pursuit of virtue. This pursuit leads to a more serene, ethical, and meaningful life where inner peace is found not in external things but within ourselves. As we explore the principles of Stoic philosophy, we find a roadmap to mastering our minds and consequently our lives. From self-knowledge to the pursuit of virtue as the highest good, these teachings empower us to navigate the turbulent waters of existence with calm, wisdom, and ethics. Stoic philosophy teaches us that true wealth lies in inner peace, self-transformation, and the constant pursuit of virtue in a world that often presents us with challenges and uncertainties. Stoic philosophy offers a guiding light toward a more balanced and meaningful life. It is a philosophy that reminds us that despite external circumstances, we have the power to shape our minds and our choices. So I invite you to consider how these principles can find a place in your own journey. How can you apply self-knowledge, emotional control, acceptance of what you cannot control, the pursuit of virtue, and a focus on the present in your daily life? By incorporating these principles, you may discover a path to a more serene, ethical, and meaningful life. Stoic philosophy reminds us that the true treasure is within us, waiting to be discovered and cultivated. In summary, Stoic principles offer a valuable guide to mastering the mind and living a more meaningful and virtuous life, from self-knowledge to the pursuit of virtue as the highest good. These principles challenge us to cultivate wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance in our lives, seeking inner tranquility and serenity in the face of adversity. Now I invite you to reflect on how these Stoic principles can be applied in your own life. In what areas do you see room for improving your self-knowledge? How do you deal with circumstances beyond your control? Do you practice virtue as a guide for your actions? Share your thoughts and insights on how Stoic philosophy can positively influence your personal journey. Thank you very much for watching. Until the end, you are a strong individual, so affirm in the comments. I am a new person after watching this video. Until the next video.